What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with more Destiny 2 updates, a little bit of news, some of it related to community stuff, yet more drama, which of course has become pretty normal. Bungie also speak about the roadmap that they discussed last month, giving an update on their progress, plus we'll talk just a little bit about the exotic mission which is landing next week. So a few things to round up here guys. If you do enjoy the video and find it helpful, be sure to hit subscribe if you are new, and I'll keep you up to date with everything related to Bungie and the game, but now let's get into it. And so first up, we were discussing just yesterday the conversation about the roadmap that Bungie mentioned last month that was in the reveal stream for Renegades and Ashen Iron. DMG's wording was that this roadmap is for between now and when Renegades drops, so a sort of road to Renegades, I guess. It's coming up on a month since we had that update, but answering a question about where that roadmap is, DMG said, "We haven't forgotten, and the team is aligning on plans, timelines, etc. We can't give a specific date at this time, but again, the indication is that it's still coming, just that we'll have to wait a little while longer." As I mentioned yesterday, it's an interesting position because, of course, players want that roadmap as soon as possible. It's also important, however, that Bungie announced something that's actually deliverable. But in relation to a roadmap before Renegades, I kind of have a similar position at this point where making bigger changes to power leveling and all these kind of things right now probably won't hit as hard as they would if they were coming in Renegades, because I think there are a lot of players that are ultimately going to wait until Renegades to actually come back into the game. That isn't to say that changes are not valuable, but if anything, I would put the focus into the upcoming event stuff, whether it's Arms Week, which we're getting next week, alongside the launch of the exotic mission, Festival of the Lost later on in October, or the Call to Arms event, which will be in November. I would kind of be using those as the major attractions for players. Again, throwing the rulebook out of the window and saying we're going to give you tier 4 and 5 loot, regardless of your power level, and also boost progression in general by a significant amount, as that will probably have more impact than even longer term power changes, and Bungie have already got some power changes outlined. So that's my 2 cents on it, but when Bungie give us official word on this roadmap, or should we say a reveal for the roadmap, I guess they've given us an update, I will be sure to keep you posted. In other news, there's been a bit of discussion about this, but according to Destiny Bulletin, Hilary Heidi, who previously worked at BioWare and EA as well as Bethesda, is apparently the new global franchise director for Destiny. And at first I thought this was going to be kind of a big deal potentially. Paul Tassi said, "I'm not even clear on what these roles actually mean anymore, but I think this was either Luke Smith or Mark Noseworthy's old job, and their job titles were somewhere along those lines. However, this specific job seems to be far more focused on the publishing side of Destiny 2 and marketing, so we can see responsibility to develop D2's franchise marketing goals and objectives and variable marketing budget strategy in partnership with the head of publishing at Destiny Development." So in terms of this being a game changer or really having a big influence with regards to how the game actually plays and the direction that Bungie take it from a gameplay perspective, I'm not sure that this role is really impactful in that sense, but that's what we know and I figured it was worth a mention. Bungie once again clarify with the double drop thing this week for featured loot, any activity in the portal that has a gear icon indicating a bonus focus reward, so if Mint Retrograde is featured in Pinnacle Ops or a class item in a solo ops, that is where we'll get the double drops of that specific gear on the first completion of the activity with a B grade or higher, and that is per day, so it's not a bad boost, it's a little bit, and if a really good weapon, Seraphim Haze for instance, that's one I haven't picked up still, is actually featured, then obviously it's an extra chance at rolls and things like that. We'll talk more about the update next week in just a moment, but something else that's been in the news over the past couple of days, as Destiny Bulletin report here, after the Desert Perpetual Epic race, accusations surfaced against a Bungie QA tester who allegedly leaked raid mechanics with his team during the race. Following that, a recent profile update has fans speculating that he may have been let go. Now, this is an interesting drama, once again. And so reading from the article here, obviously, I'm only reiterating what Destiny Bulletin have said. It's very hard to verify this in any more detail, but several players who took part in the raid race accused the Bungie QA tester, known online as Bravo, of privately sharing Desert Perpetual mechanics with his own clan during the epic raid race. Although it was shortly after the world first completion, which is kind of important context, as obviously if that's true, it theoretically didn't impact which team actually got world first. Although I would add to that while a contest is active, if someone who knows the mechanics is leaking that information to a team that don't know the mechanics, even if it is very shortly after the race has actually been won, I still think that's pretty problematic. And these reports come via screenshots of Discord chats, where players have claimed that Bravo began coaching mid-contest. The article points out none of this has been confirmed by Bungie, which I wouldn't expect it to be honest. It's something they'd rather not discuss at all, I'm sure. But the QA tester in question joined Bungie in March of 2025, reportedly, and as a result had to step back from actually competing in Day 1 raids. And posts now allege that he may have given his clan, Team Parabellum, who were also competing in the raid race, insights that others had to figure out the hard way. I'm not sure why those responses to it are grayed out, but we can see Neo said, "I definitely think this rule should be that no Bungie dev influence is allowed until contest is over. I think getting strategies from people who've been limit testing during the raid for a long period of time kind of ruins the contest experience." Giggs responded, "Even if no NDA is broken, it's super shitty that certain teams get an advantage for a good placement, even if it's not legally wrong. That doesn't mean it's not morally wrong for a fair race." And I'm inclined to agree. While it doesn't really impact me, I wasn't, really involved in the raid race, but if this is indeed true, anyone who has an awareness of how mechanics work inside of the raid, who's actually been technically working for Bungie producing that piece of content, especially in a competitive-ish context of an epic raid, they should just not be communicating what they know to players who are trying to figure it out. The same way as, any of you guys, we can't send an email to Bungie and say, "Hey, how do we do this thing? We haven't figured it out yet." We're never going to get a response, so it's not a level playing field. And this may be over-dramatized or not, but it's still wrong. So players in that clan, or familiar with that group of folks, have reiterated that this only happened after World First, so that is important context. But following on, fans yesterday noticed that Bravo quietly removed the QA tester at Bungie part of his profile on Twitter, and that small update was enough for many to believe he'd been let go by the studio in the wake of the accusations. So that's really all there is to it. Like I say, very problematic for someone who has awareness of how this is working to go and give information during a contest run. And I wouldn't anticipate Bungie are going to say anything about it unless even more drama kicks off, and then maybe they would comment on it in some capacity. But I think if they have the option to not comment on it, that's the route they're going to take, because it's just more bad press, isn't it? Same exact thing as if, I had played a piece of content early at Bungie, which I've done in the past. If I start going just throwing spoilers out there, or giving my clanmates tips on how to get X, Y, and Z, which are supposed to be secret, whether it breaks an NDA or not, it does ultimately spoil the experience, so it just shouldn't happen. Other quick updates right here. Players report that Banshee has been stealing Glimmer, and I'm sure Banshee has suffered wage cuts in the wake of Bungie's recent drama over the last couple of years, and he's taken it into his own hands and robbing players of Glimmer. But Bungie mark an official answer to this on the forums. They say Banshee has 2 bounty issues that they're aware of at the moment. One is that he only has 2 daily repeatable bounties, and repeatable bounties are not being claimed as intended, which I guess means he's taking the Glimmer but not giving the bounty. Even the NPCs are up to dirty monetization tricks. Then there's Soraya Hawthorne, who's not allowing certain players to pick up their clan engrams. So there's a player here that's got 41 engrams sitting on Hawthorne, but is unable to actually grab them or rank up. And again, Bungie are reportedly aware of the issue. But if you're able to drop your power level below 500, you may be able to claim the engrams as a workaround. So if you're over 500 and you encounter the same issue, that's something that might work. Otherwise, we'll wait for official updates. The final thing to mention here, though, I know we've spent a bit of time on some of these other bits of news, but next week we get the exotic mission. Now that's going to be at least interesting, right? Bungie were reportedly just finishing up this exotic mission over the last few weeks, so hopefully it will be a smooth experience and not really buggy or anything. But it's going to land us with the first exotic axe. Although it is technically a sword in Axe's clothing, is that a phrase we can use? Where the weapon allows light attacks to generate sword energy and have the chance to spawn seeking quicksilver nanites that heal the wielder upon attaching. Then with the trait, the nanites that attach to the wielder charge the blade, and when fully charged it can be overclocked, enhancing the blade's offensive capabilities, with light attacks dealing increased damage to targets and fully charged heavy attacks creating a flaming quicksilver swarmnado. Originally, Bungie had said that this mission would be called Warstat Heist, and then they've since updated the blog, and they now refer to it as Heliostat, so I guess that's the final name for the mission. There's also an ornament for the axe that will be featured in the Eververse store. I think it might be silver only for this season though, so probably get it for Bright Dust after Renegades drops. And as we can see here, with it being an exotic mission, there'll be intrinsics that we can get, primarily to upgrade various stats on it. So as we get higher intrinsic levels, ultimately, ammo generation, impact, guard resistance, and all those kind of stats will slowly increase. There'll be blade options on it, just like a sword, so Owned Edge, Tempered, Hungry Edge, Jagged Edge, and Enduring Blade. as well as handle upgrades for it, which are obviously agnostic to the fact that this is an axe, and the upgrades there will affect the guard endurance of the weapon. Then there'll be catalysts, and I'm assuming we'll earn these week over week, so I don't know if they'll all be available on week 1 or what it'll be, but there's attrition orbs, relentless strikes, and burning ambition as refits, which I'll assume we earn in that order because the crafting levels required increase for each of those upgrades. Then, a more unique perk, which is subroutine recursion, and the nanites will grant more health the greater your stacks of nano assault are, and taking damage while nano assault is active has the chance to generate nanites nearby. So that will increase the kind of healing capacity of the weapon, I suppose. Another quick mention, possibly we'll get this particular emblem from the mission as well, Overgrown Warzone. Main reason is that it's not a special offer emblem, so that means it's probably earnable in-game, and of course having the Warmind theme and being new this episode, it doesn't take a genius to assume the possibility that we'll get this emblem from that mission as well. So that's one component of next week, and the other one is that Arms Week will be live again. So Trachinus or Trachinus, I still don't know which way you say that thing. I've been wondering that for a long time, but that will be the featured weapon. So if you want any better rolls on it, especially given that I think last time it was featured, it was from Heavy Metal, right? So it basically comes back from Arms Week, and even if you're not particularly grinding Arms Week as such, I'm sure there'll still be a few chances to pick up a handful of rolls of it. So there'll be that as well, but Bungie will probably give us more details on these things in the twid. So for the moment, guys, that's what we have to discuss. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, a rating really does help me out on the channel. Be sure as well to get subscribed, and I will keep you posted with more Destiny content. But otherwise, I very much appreciate you tuning in and for all of the recent support in a time where the game is struggling and we're also seeing different parts of the community kind of falling out and not having a fun time and sometimes being toxic as well to each other. I've got to say, I have personally experienced very little of that, and I feel really fortunate because you guys are awesome, man. I'm just doing my best to keep things rolling, track the state of the game. Of course, we're all hoping that it will improve. And for the moment, that's the best that I can do. I'll be here till the lights are out. It ain't over till it's over. And hopefully that will be a little while. Either way, I truly appreciate you all, and I hope you have an awesome day.